Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach and I'm in a good mood. The refactoring work that I was doing, I closed that off. There really wasn't much left to do. I ran all the tests and everything. Everything was fine. So I made a couple little tweaks in some extension methods because I just saw that, hey, this might be better. In fact, let me find one of those. Let me go into the extension methods. It's a little cleaner now too because extensions just has extensions. There's nothing else in here other than extension methods. So that's good. I think it's in this one. I'll see it. Yeah. So I changed isOpenGeneric. It was doing like an if and stuff. I changed it to a pattern. And it was kind of nice because I could say, hey, if the type kind property is equal to type parameter, that's true. If it's a named type symbol, then whatever has OpenGenerics gives us. Otherwise, it's false. And I like this. To me, it reads rather well. And then I changed also contains diagnostics. That was also like 2 embedded for eaches. The 2 any's that you see here will also be, they're essentially the for each loops, except it's a smaller syntax. But I kind of like this. It just, to me, reads a little cleaner, that if any of the declared syntax references have a diagnostic on its syntax where any of them has a severity of error, it's true. So I made those couple changes, all test pass, and so I'm good. And so I thought I'm going to go and fix a bug that I wanted to release for 8 that will kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say test out the refactorings I've just been making, but see if it's any easier to work with or not. I don't know, or maybe it has no impact whatsoever. But it's this bug where if you have a sealed member on an interface, which again, this is where interfaces have really changed since 1.0 of .NET. You can have default interface implementations. You can have static members on interfaces. You can have static abstract members on interfaces. You can have different, I keep mixing up accessibility and visibility, but you can have things that are protected or internal. You can also have, in this case, something that's sealed. You can override it. And so I'm not filtering this out correctly to say, I don't care. This is something I should not be including. So I am guessing I am including this somewhere. So let's go into debug. And as we know, or you know if you've been watching past videos of me with these shenanigans, that tweaking this discovery can be quite fun. So, but we know we just need to go into interface because this is an interface and probably doesn't happen with methods. Are these tabbed? Oh my God, no, they're not. Why are they not? There we go. Come on. I have tabs set up in my editor config. Why is it not, when I refactored some of this stuff, making it as tabs? Horrible, horrible. Bad, awful, awful, awful bad. I bet it's, yeah, it's like, what the heck? Why is it not formatting it correctly? And yeah, I should have a build process that does some code. What code cleanup? What code cleanup? Configure code cleanup? Well, what's this? Huh? Who? Where? What? Format document. Available fixers. No, whatever. I don't really care. So, a little confused. So open with, we want it to be a text document because the thing on there. See tab. It's tab. It's 3. It's set here. Why is it not honoring this? Anyway, so we want to be in get methods for interface. This already is a little bit nicer to move around. So we don't want to include non-virtual static methods. That is correct. We need to explicitly implement matching methods. See, this is where comments, and this can be a little bit of an art form, but this is where comments are nice in that you don't just put a comment in for every single line. It's more about putting comments to kind of describe what the next thing is where needed. And I'm starting to do that more with rocks and other places because it's just this rule of thumb. If I found it a little bit confusing that I would want to come back later, this helps with some context. Like, why did I do this? So, and in any event. So here we need to explicitly implement matching methods from the object type. They exactly match from the methods on the type itself. We don't even add it to the list. What does that mean? So we're trying to get methods that are not static and not abstract and not virtual. So in this case, it's not static, it's not abstract. Oh, that's the problem, I think. Because it has to be all three. We want to, if it's a static method, then what we have right here is if it's not, okay, wait a minute. Oh. So we're trying to find all the methods in that type where it's not, I mean, I guess Boolean logic, how many times have I said this? This always messes with me. So we don't include non-virtual static methods. Right, because those would just be like static something or other. Even if they, oh, non-virtuals. No, non-virtual static. What the hell are we trying to not do here? I would imagine we're trying to find the methods that would actually, yeah, later on in mock model, I make a check for static abstract members. So I'm trying to add, it's funny because it gets confused because it thinks it needs to do a shim. If you look at the error for this test, and it should have had it because I got this all set up in a branch and everything. Fine, let me run it again so you can see it. Here's the error. It says, does not contain a definition for shim for IsSealed. So it thinks it needs to do it. If I come down to sealed method, which shouldn't be here in the first place, this should all be gone. We don't want this here at all. That's the intent. But it thinks it needs to redirect to this. So we shouldn't, what we really should want is not that there at all and not this here at all either. And then we have that space there for that extra line for some reason. So that's what we want. So here, yeah, we're doing the same filter here. So we got to do it the same thing twice. That's actually where I'm kind of like, because if we could pass in a func of, yeah, let's do that because we're doing the same thing here. So we want something like static bool get interface methods, where we can't do extension methods as a local method. But what we can do is what's being passed in here. It's a iMethod symbol, right? An iMethod symbol and then a bool. So we want iMethod symbol method, and then it returns a bool. And what we're going to want is basically all this because we repeat the logic. Now, of course, it's going to be like, what's that? Well, we want that to be method. And then we do that, and then we do that, and then we do that. We could probably put that on a different one. Sure. And then that's not being used anywhere, so we want to say where. Can you just... Well, that works. I mean, that's what I want. I just don't like the name of it now. Let's get down here and do the same thing, just so I don't forget. And what doesn't it like about that? Oh, I went one too far. Okay. So we want to say is interface method to include? Naming is easy. Naming is very easy. Is method to examine? I don't know. And then we can put that, I guess, up here because, yeah. So whatever we do in one, we want to do in the base ones as well. That's basically what I'm saying, if that basically makes sense. How many times can I say base? Apparently a lot. So The point is not reuse, but in that case, it was like, it makes sense because whatever I do here is what I want to do in the other place. So if the method to examine isn't static. So if it is static and it isn't abstract, because we don't want static abstracts, and it isn't virtual. So that would mean something like, because you can say static virtual. I think that's the thing I'm trying to avoid here. Just to be, let's go to the Sharp Labs. Sharp. I think that's what I'm trying to avoid here, is saying something like public interface. I avoid life. I want to do something like static virtual void foo, which I think is what is, oh yeah, because it makes sense. I got to do that. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to avoid. I don't want to include those. So what I want to say here is it's that, or is there a sealed? So let's do this. We want to have that, or, and then something. We want to say method is sealed. Yes. So it's not one of those things, or it's not sealed. Because it's not a static, abstract, static virtual. We don't want those. I think that's what I want to put here. Let's just run it here first and see what this does. Well, that didn't work. It still thinks it needs to be included. So if the method to examine is not these things, or it isn't sealed, and it's ordinary. So the nice thing about this now is we can actually debug this. Well, I mean, we could before, but let's get to the debug point and let's see what's actually happening here. So this method is the foo one. That is fine because it's not static. So that one will come out as static is false. So this whole thing's false, and then we not it, so it's true. So that's true, or this would be true, which is okay because we don't care. So that still comes through as we would expect. Now let's do it again, and we should get the second one, which is a sealed method. So method is static, and method is virtual, or method is sealed. That's true. We're down here. We should actually be trying to bring this in, right? Oh no, we don't want this to be true. Right, we don't want this to be true. There are times I wish I wasn't like such a bad developer. The name, oh, well, fine, because I jumped out of the context. Yeah, that's my fault. Do it again. There. So yeah, we want that to be false. Like here, if we did this, that would probably, that's true. Oh yeah, because this isn't a static. We want it to, if it's static, we want that to come back as false, right? Because if it's not, if it's static and it's not abstract and it's not virtual, that would just mean it's a static method. We don't want those, and we don't want methods that are sealed. So I think I have the or wrong. Sorry. This has always been kind of an embarrassment for me. Well, why is that true? Didn't I say? Yeah, that. Did I spell that wrong? Because you can see sealed void. Yeah, that's fine. Even if I say public here, that would be fine too, right? Let's make sure that it's actually, yeah, it's changed. Okay, it's changing it because it went to bar. Well, that's weird. So if I say, yeah, method.is sealed. Even though I'm typing, it's a sealed method. What? Okay, now that's a little unexpected. So if we go to the I symbol, we see is sealed as false. Okay, now I'm confused because that definitely is marked as sealed. I guess because we want it to be not any of this and not any of this. And so let's stop this for a moment and just make sure we've got our logic in here. It's not any of that, and it's not sealed, and okay, I'm stunned. I'm gonna do my research. I'm gonna do a little bit of research because this is perfectly fine. And if I go into Visual Studio, if I bet I just come up here and I say, let's just put a type in here. Just got no problem with fine, mixing comment. Target runtime doesn't support default. .NET Standard 2.0. Okay, yeah. There's no problem with this. Well, what's the problem here? Remember, bar does not access instance data. That's a code analysis thing. That's not a compiler thing. That's perfectly fine. So I don't understand where this is coming from and saying, hey, you should be the things. And it's definitely getting in here, and it's not, should be any of those, and the method should not be sealed because we need to be able to override it. Give me a moment. This one's a little weird. I need to do some investigation. Oh, darn. I guess I'm not sure why this is happening. I actually went into, where did I do this? Here. And then I went into Syntax Visualizer and I was like, well, what is this giving me? And again, this is fine. If in fact, to that point, I went in here and I said, okay, make this interface, implement it. And it just does foo, and none of this is wrong and it's all okay. So I'm kind of like, this is fine. Everything is fine. Should be. And I'm sitting here going, well, what's the problem here? So I just posted something to the Discord channel because I'm like, okay, if I have an interface like this to me, the IsSealed property should return true, but it's returning false. And again, I see that in Visual Studio with I got to do there. Now it should pop up. So you see the sealed keyword, it's there, but if I look at the method declaration and I say view the symbol, and if I scroll up, where is it? Here. Sealed is false. And so this is really bizarre to me. I don't get this. So I got to be missing something. Like there's some rule about interfaces with sealed members that it will be this, but then you have to do this to find out if it's really sealed or I don't know. It's not virtual. So, okay. It's not an override. It's not, the other thought I had is, well, you could, I still have it here, or I took it out. But you could put something in that says, well, look at the declaring syntax references or whatever. And if there is one, then look at this first one and then look at its descendant tokens. If there's any in there that has sealed, then you can assume it's sealed. But that feels weird. That feels wrong. It feels like something I shouldn't have to do. So I don't know. I'm going to end the episode here. And hopefully in the next one, I have an answer to this. Because again, it could be some case that I'm just not understanding how Rosalind handles this and I'm doing it wrong. And I've been beaten so many times by this stuff that I'm always like, okay, it could be me. It could be me. It's probably me. It is in all likelihood me. But I want to know why. What can I do? Because there's got to be some way to figure out that this is marked as a sealed member. Hopefully in the next episode, I'll find that out and relay that information to you. Thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.